times you will get these results, 5 times it may not be true, right? So we have to look at the beta coefficient in the regression model. We have to also look at the p-values. So if something is statistically significant in the regression model, we need to explain it why. And of course, it has more power. And of course, something which is not statistically significant, then you should stay in the analysis, your discussion, like, why do you think it is not statistically significant? And what should not be very, it depends how your research question is. So sometimes you can get a null finding. Like if my hypothesis is that whether proportion elderly has any effect on, I propose that it has a positive association on COVID-19 epidemic, and the results are not statistically significant. So then what I'm going to write? I'm going to say that we tested, but the result was not statistically significant. So it means that proportion elderly is not associated with COVID-19, period, right? So similarly, we can have, if we have 5 independent factors in the model, we'll have 5 beta values and we have 5 level of significance p values. And we can check these p values and say that whether these results are statistically significant or not. And of course, the regression coefficient can be positive, it can be negative. So for example, if you have degree of urbanization increasing, you expect proportion COVID-19 increasing. But suppose you have a model of, if you model education with COVID-19, then you expect that as the level of literacy increases, because educated people know how to negotiate risk, and therefore they could be at lower risk as compared to non-educated people in terms of getting infected with COVID-19, right? So you hypothesize that degree of education is negatively associated with contracting COVID-19. So if you run this regression model, you will get a beta coefficient plus with the sign, of course with the sign, in this case it would be negative. So we'll get the sign which will tell you in which way these variables are associated, whether they are positively associated or if they are negatively associated, right? And then you also have a p-values that will tell you whether this is a statistically significant association or this is not a statistically significant association. And one more thing which is advantage in regression, or the major reason why we do regression is that it gives you the adjusted effect of each x factor on the y after controlling for other factors in the model. So I want to repeat again this, what does it mean? So basically, if you have 5 model variables in the model, so you are looking at the effect of, for example, age composition or proportion elderly on COVID-19, keeping all other variation at the mean level, right? So it means that suppose in the population there is no variation by urbanization, there is no variation by migration, there is no variation by education status, there is no variation by health infrastructure. All of them are held at mean level in the population. So if we increase the proportion of elderly in the population by 1 unit, what degree of change is going to bring about in the y or the dependent variable? So that is the main advantage in regression. We are doing an adjusted analysis where we are adjusting everything else at the mean level, and we are looking at if we increase our x by 1 unit, how much change it is going to bring in our y variable, right? So similarly, for each explanatory variable, we do these things, and therefore it gives you a more refined understanding of the relationship between x and y. Many times when I do this discussion in my class, I often ask my students that, someday all of you would be occupying important positions. Some of you will become bureaucrats, technocrats, some of you become district magistrate, important positions. So suppose if you are a district magistrate of a district and you are given in charge of COVID-19. So your chief minister wants that, you give me 1 or 2 solutions that I should do, because the time is very limited with me and the resources are limited. So what should I do? If you do a correlation, you might be caught in a difficult situation because you don't know the relationship working are really true or by chance. But if you do a regression and out of, you can have 10 variables or 15 explanatory variables in the model which you think are important, and out of them, if you identify 1, 2 or 3 most important depending upon their coefficient value, you can identify these factors which are most critical out of the 15 critical factors, and you can tell your chief minister that, look, these are probably these 2-3 factors which are essentially more critical. So if you invest in these factors, we expect to get more return with limited investment in the limited period of time. So basically, it is very, very, very helpful for policy makers and those who are doing implementation on the grounds. They can use these data, and we are living in an era of big data, and a lot of people are getting bombarded with data every day. So just to make a sense of how we can, wisely use this data. So these regression methods are really helpful many times to analyze these kinds of, research questions. Similarly, many of you would be doing variety of research questions. Like people I know in geography, they are working on looking at changing land use and land cover. People are doing hazard mapping. People are doing land zonation, urban planning. People are doing settlements, housing problems. So a lot of issues that people are collecting data on. So you can collect a lot of data. And I mean, these days we've got a lot of software on which we can analyze this data. So if you're writing a research paper, I think it's very important that we identify the research problem clearly, depending upon what data we have. I mean, again, it depends. But first you have research question, and then you see if you have data or not. Even if you don't have data, you can go and collect a primary data. So first you have a research problem, then you think about data, primary or secondary. Then you identify the major objectives of the research. You can use descriptive statistics. You can do cross-tabulation to look at the patterns. And of course, then you can go for regressions to identify the risk factors, which may be important for your research analysis. So these days, a lot of people are, I mean, of course, there are a lot of family members within regression analysis. Like, I mean, the simple case that we discussed today was a linear regression model, where you have a linear relationship between X factors and how they're associated with Y. But there are various other family members of the regression family, depending upon the nature of the dependent variable. So suppose if you are dealing with question like dependent variable, which is dichotomous in nature, right? So for instance, if you want to explain the variability in poverty, so somebody is poor, so somebody is non-poor. So if you want to explain these variabilities, so in this case, your dependent variable is dichotomous. So depending upon the nature of dependent variable, we choose the kind of regression we want to fit. So if the regression is linear, for example, if you have a continuous variable, for example, continuous variable like height or temperature or rainfall or slope, weight, blood pressure, blood sugar, all of them are measured at continuous scale. If you have this kind of scenario in hand, so you can fit linear regression model. But if you have question like poor versus non-poor, educated versus uneducated, obese versus not obese, right? So these kinds of dichotomous, undernourished versus not undernourished, healthy versus not healthy, all these kinds of combination, I mean, these kinds of dichotomous variables. So then in that situation, we implement logistic regression model. Similarly, you may also have a situation where you have your dependent variable in an ordered way, right? So example, somebody is, you order a particular problem in a certain way. So you say that today somebody is less healthy, somebody is moderately healthy, somebody is perfectly healthy, right? So in this we have ordered the outcome variable. So we have ordered regression models when we measure the outcome variable in a which is ordinal in scale, right? So depending upon the scales that we use, we employ various kinds of regression models. And I mean, there are a lot of interest these days in people, those who are also having advanced regression models. For example, people are doing multi-level regression analysis. So for geographers, there are a lot of geographers who are using multi-level regression these days, which is another advanced level of regression, where, I mean, of course, we can have linear multi-level, we can have logistic multi-level regression and ordinal. But what is the main difference between simple regression model and multi-level is that if you remember that we have a intercept, single intercept across the population. Intercept means single random term. I mean, so if you remember, you have x, you have y is equal to a plus bx. So a is the intercept, plus you have range of beta depending upon number of independent variables. In the multi-level, what happens is that we have more than one intercept, right? So we also call it random intercept model, right? So I mean, these intercept varies. So suppose if I want to understand the COVID-19 today in India using different level of aggregation. Suppose today we don't have individual level information. Say after 1 or 2 years, if you have individual level of observation on these COVID-19 cases, so you can you want to model these, because if you increase the level of, I mean, if you want to disaggregate the level of hierarchy to understand the problem, you can get more refined result. So what I'm trying to say is, like, if you want to decompose the risk or the vulnerability of COVID-19, not only by individual composition of the population, but also by in which district they live or in which state they live. So we know that the exposure varies from where you live or who you are, right? So if I am somebody who is 60 with some comorbidities, of course my risk of COVID-19 is high. But if I am from a district where by and large, the risk of COVID-19 is high. So even if I am 30 and I have no comorbidities, but my risk is high because I happen to live in a district where on average COVID-19 is high, right? So if we have a regression that allows us to decompose various intercept or various level of intercept, then we are in a better position to identify the vulnerabilities. So just to give you an idea that this is an important tool that people are using these days to understand the various degree of vulnerabilities, which has become a very important tool for geographers. So I hope that my discussion has been, has generated some interest in you. And if you have any kind of questions to follow up, feel free to write me at pkpathak@jmi.ac.in. And I hope that this entire session is useful for all of you. So thank you once again, Department of Geography, Shivaji University, Kolhapur. And this is also my home department. I have worked there for 3 years, from 2010 to 2013. I really miss this place, and I hope that I would I'm thankful to all of you for giving me this chance to interact with the students, and look forward to have more association in future. Thank you, and please take care and stay safe in this COVID-19. Thank you.